Which statement do you think is true? Read the statements and decide. Play the video when you're ready with your answer. All three are true. The English colonists stole corn from a Wampanoag family. Some Wampanoag men shot arrows at some Englishmen. The Wampanoag and the colonists made a treaty with each other. All of those options are true. The first meetings of the Wampanoag and the English colonists were not very friendly. Why? The Wampanoag and the colonists had different points of view. It can be very hard for people with different points of view to understand each other. You have a point of view too. A historian needs to set aside his or her own point of view to try to understand how people of the past thought and acted. Our job is to explore how the Wampanoag and colonists might have felt about each other at the 1621 harvest celebration. In 1614, 27 Wampanoag men were kidnapped by English explorers.
This is the land of my people. We have lived here for thousands of years, but strange bearded men with loud weapons and metal clothes have begun to come to our land. Some are friendly, but others mean us harm. They captured some of our men and took them to their large boats. They were prevented from leaving. Their families still cry for them.
For 2 years, from 1616 to 1618, sickness killed thousands of native people from Maine to Cape Cod. In September 1620, the Mayflower departs from England, bringing the Pilgrims over to America.
The ship is terribly crowded, and my belly has been greatly troubled with sickness. I miss my home in Holland. We are going to the New World, where Father says our church and family will prosper. Others on the ship do not belong to our church, but we all want to own land and be farmers.
In November 1620, the Mayflower arrives near the Wampanoag village of Mishwam.
From the dunes, we saw a ship. When it came closer, we hid ourselves and watched it. We've seen strangers like them before, but never have they brought women and children.
By God's providence, after a long voyage, we spy land. Some speck of the bounty that we will find. Others are afraid and call this land a vast and hideous wilderness. In time, we hope to teach the wild men of this land about our God.
Also in November 1620, while exploring Cape Cod, colonists find corn buried in the ground.
What kind of people would steal what isn't theirs? The corn was a family seed for planting next spring, as well as food to carry them through until harvest.
While exploring, we discovered many places where Indian wheat was buried. We digged it up and took away as much as we could carry. We saw none of the Indians, but we will pay them the honours if we can find them.
In November 1620, the Wampanoag shot arrows at the colonists exploring Cape Cod. In December 1620, colonists choose to settle in Plymouth.
The English are building at Patuxent. Once many of our people lived there, but most of the Patuxent died in great sickness. We don't understand why the English are building there. They have not spoken to our leaders or our elders.
We have found a place to make our plantation. It is a most thoughtful place, with plenty of fish and fowl, good soil, and brooks with sweet water. We will make better use of this land than the Indians do. They know nothing of improving the land.
In March 1621, Massasoit, Coadquinia, and Governor Carver sign a treaty of mutual protection.
Thousands of our people have died from the great sickness. Massasoit believes allying with the English will make our villages stronger against our enemies in Narragansett.
We have made a treaty with King Massasoit and his people. It is good to have allies amongst the Indians of this land. Now we may think of trading with them. Others think of the chance to convert them.
In spring 1620, Tisquantum shows the colonists how to plant corn. In autumn of 1621, colonists celebrate a good harvest. Massasoit and at least 90 men attend.
Our people living near Patuxent heard the sound of many musket shots being fired. Messages were sent to our village by runners. Massasoit and 90 men journeyed to Patuxent to investigate.
Our corn grew well, God be praised. Governor Bradford sent several men to once so that we might join together and celebrate a good harvest. Many of the Indians, including King Massasoit, came among us.
We've discovered that everyone has his or her own point of view, and you've seen how the Wampanoag and the colonists sometimes looked at the same event in very different ways. Let's visit the expert before we return home.
Can we ever really know what the harvest celebration of 1621 meant to a colonial child? Can we know what raced through the mind of a Wampanoag boy when he spotted an English ship on the horizon? Maybe not, but part of what a historian does is to make good guesses about the thoughts and feelings of people in the past. To do this, a historian uses all the tools for investigating the past, including writings and oral traditions, paintings and objects of the people who actually lived the events. Many of the words in this activity are those of the people who lived back then.
Now we'll share what we've learned. But first, let's think. Which of these statements is true? Read the statements and think. Which of these is true? Historians do all of these things and more. We bet you've learned a lot about the 1621 harvest celebration. What important ideas do you want to share with others? One way historians share what they've learned is by making museum exhibits. An exhibit uses pictures, objects, and words to explain an important idea. An exhibit has 3 parts: the title, pictures or objects, and exhibit labels. Exhibit labels are written words that explain the pictures or objects. Your job is to share what you've learned. On Schoology, you will have the choice to either write an exhibit label about a picture or design a museum exhibit.